Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time. I'm finally glad to get the show back on the road. And today on the Luke Thompson Designs podcast, we have two very special guests. To my left is world renowned Mr. It's Still Real to Me, damn it. Mr. Dave Wills, how are you, sir?
What's going on, man? I'm doing wonderful, man. It's another day in paradise, brother. What's going on with you?
Oh, man. I am not enjoying this Georgia heat, I tell you what.
No, no one is.
And right below me is the manager of champions himself, Mr. Stranglehold, Mr. Eric Nelson. How are you, sir?
That's right. I'm also world renowned, in case y'all didn't know that.
Absolutely. I was also a manager, so what can I say?
Hey, that's it, right?
I wasn't a bad manager either.
Hey, let's actually start with that manager, because if I'm not mistaken, Eric, Dave was the manager of your wife.
That's right. For a time, that's right.
My $1 million baby, Brandy Scotch Baker. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, that guy, we wound up having, I wound up coming out almost every match one night. It was pretty fun. It was pretty doggone fun. It was Carrollton, Georgia, Bowden. We kept on rotating buildings because we didn't have the fairgrounds. I forget. I think the fairgrounds were. I can't remember. I had to remind Shane. I had to ask Shane those. We went to Bowden and all these other places and all, and various gyms and stuff. But we had a good time. It was great. I enjoyed it and everything. Got to manage the exotic ones. Got to manage Brandy Scotch Baker. It was tremendous. I really enjoyed it. We had some fun.
So let me ask you: Did really all your fame, I guess you could call it that? I mean, did it all start with you being in the stands with Jim Cornette and doing the still?
Now I've been a classic hanger on for years, dating back to 1992 when I graduated high school. Got to go to my first wrestling show and met Bam Bam Bigelow at the Cobb County Civic Center. Whenever I was a kid, my mom and dad finally got me some wrestling tickets, and then I kept on going after the summer. And then later, I wound up seeing a little local promotion called All South Championship Wrestling in Marietta, Georgia, run by a guy named Randy Riggs, who had a karate school. And some of the guys down there who were there were Steve Lawler, Lee Thomas, Scott Stud, a bunch of the guys. And I got to put up a ring in the rain for about $10. And I'm like, hey, I think I got ripped off. No, I got to pay more than some wrestlers. It's the education, man. Got to pay some dues. But that's cool, man. That's cool. I was a classic hanger on then. And then years later, I can't believe it, but I wound up going to local shows, indie shows. Always enjoyed them. Always enjoyed them. Main reason I was in Spartanburg was to meet Barbarian and Jerry Lawler for the first time. Had no idea I'd go viral.
Yeah.
I always thought, well, I'll wind up learning to be a manager. They wanted me. Well, we want to train you to be a manager, Dave. $900. Well, you might as well have said 35 billion when I'm 18 because I don't have no $900. And I'm like, well, I think I already know how to do it. I mean, I knew how to take a bump. I didn't know everything, but I could talk my butt off way back then. So, anyways, but yeah, then I wound up going viral, and the whole world changed. It's weird. People in England know me and stuff like that. It's very strange.
Oh yeah. I remember the
Quite bizarre.
first time I met you, a couple years ago. I went on the trip to Jerry Lawler's 50th anniversary, and me and Eric and the rest of the crew was in the hotel, and lo and behold, and I look over and I'm like, is that the guy? Is that the guy?
Oh, well.
And I'm like, so yeah, it was great to finally meet you in person, because
Anybody was there that day.
Well, it's weird too because I mean, viral fame is very strange. I don't understand it and everything, But I mean, on the bright side, hey, Tommy Rich walks up to me and says, "Hey, brother, it's still to me, damn it," or somebody says, "Hey, Wildfire Tommy Rich," I mean, still, that's kind of cool. But I mean, then it gets weird. I go to AEW or something like that, one of the shows. I'll go sit down in the seat and everything, and all of a sudden, 3 or 4 people will show up wanting a selfie. I'm like, Hell, if I'd known it was that many of you, I'd have asked you to make a line. But I mean, I went to AEW a couple times, took like 50 selfies. Not that I care. I mean, hey, it's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice. So that's what I try to do. So, but
Uh,
yeah, I mean, it's fun. Long as you don't mind it, I'm pretty gregarious to begin with, and I always have been a big mouth. So,
oh yeah.
always was a big mouth and a fat ass. I've changed a little bit of the last one, but I'm doing better now. My doctor's very happy.
Oh yeah. So Eric, why don't you tell me how you and you've met Dave on a couple occasions, right? Uh,
Oh yeah.
um, how did Dave get to be managing your wife, Brandy?
Well, like I said, this was before her and I became a thing. He was in a different part of the country at the time than I was. What year would you say that was, Dave?
In the 2000s, I can't remember. I know how'd I get to manage Brandy Scotch Baker? Mike Jackson booked it that way.
Oh yeah. Well, there's that.
There you go.
Well,
Now
early 2000s, I would have been um,
I'll find out.
I would have been in Fort Valley for AW and Mike Money. And I my managerial gig at the time was managing, the likes of Dangerous Danny Horn, Extreme Phenom, Dirty Don, Spaz, that group. And we would go to a few different indie shows together. And then I was active military at the time, so duty called. I got deployed to Iraq in 2007. Came back, got in with a promotion called SPW, which does not exist anymore, in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and managed a couple guys there. And in between that, got to work with all these great legends. Got to promote shows of my own. Originally, my goal at the time was to head up what was called the AW and Expansion Project. This is back when Mike was still around and still on the promotion, and I was working directly for him and putting some things together. And we had 16 different promotions in 16 states at the time, under the AW umbrella. And it was okay for a time, but and I'm sure Dave can agree with me on this one. There's so many people in this world that forget it's not about going over, it's about getting over.
Absolutely. 2012, 2013 was when the run was. That was when the weirdest result from PWA was in June. Shane Knows defeats Dave Wills, managed by GFG Bailey. Yeah, there you go. It was great.
Yeah. So in your career, Dave. Well, I mean, it's crazy. Like you was talking about the viral sensation and all that happening. Kind of what point in your wrestling career, if you would say that, when the viral sensation happened, like how did everything change for you?
People coming up to me and knowing me. I've always been one when I go to a show, I try to kayfabe. I try to, if I'm a heel, I try not to associate with fans. I'm like, the hell with them. They can come back and see me later. But I try to be nice. Now, if I'm managing Curtis Hughes, who I've managed too, I got to go to Memphis with him, and that was cool. We I got to manage him on a show with Dutch Mantel, Buddy Landell, Jerry Lawler, a bunch of other folks. It was great fun. But we did Tupelo and Memphis back to back, and it was me, Hughes, and AR Fox came up there in kindler, gentler times, I should say. And it was a blast. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun. Have a lot of stories that I can tell. Well, that I can't tell is a better question. I don't want to get anybody else in the heat, but it was fun. How did it change? It really hasn't that much. It's really weird. Once the Tosh.0 thing came out, that's when it became popular. While everybody says the internet's important, no, the internet's not as important as television still. That's still the medium. Are we going the way of the internet? Yes. Are we there yet? Hell no. They're just now cutting cords. you're still having people who are watching all this other stuff. That's the way it goes.
Oh yeah.
You're still always going to have stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you still have the older generation still using the thing that like me, like I'll be 35 next month. I grew up with television. I grew up. I mean, even though most of my business is through a laptop, I mean, the thing about it is I grew up watching with my dad Monday Night Raw or flipping over to Monday Night Nitro or Impact or anything like that. So yeah, I mean,
Well,
you're right.
not every streaming service has every single channel that cable
Oh
has.
no.
So you got to subscribe to multiple ones. And
Uh-huh.
if you keep on subscribing, eventually the price is going to go up. And eventually it's going to, they may rival each other or cable may come down. It all depends on when the bubble bursts on a lot of these carriage fees and stuff like that. And you'll see, hey, I don't care. I could live on a diet of the news and me TV for years. Every now and then I watch AEW. Sometimes I wonder why'd I do that, but I do like Collision. I do like WWE. I do like other stuff. But at the same time, I have full time job. I go ahead and work. I mean, I got other things I want to do. I mean, hey, wrestling's important, but I don't want to live in the bubble. Some people, all they ever going to have is wrestling. And like again, you got to be balanced. Hey, do I want to go to a wrestling show every week? No. Sometimes I want to go out to dinner. Hell, if someone else got a wife at all, maybe they want to get laid. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Well,
You got to
it's
have
funny you
balance.
say that. Let me piggyback on you for a second on
Oh,
that.
don't give us a story about getting laid. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Now, let me piggyback on that. There's so many people out there, and I've had this conversation with Luke in the beginning since we first went to Jerry's place. There are so many people out there that need wrestling to validate who they are as a person. I will also say I'm not one of those people. I have not had to have anything other than myself validate me.
Hell no. I got
I
a
mean,
good
it's
lot.
like I use my real name in wrestling. I don't go out
I
there
do
and call
too.
myself, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. At my job, I'm not going to go in detail what I do for a living, but at my job, quite a few people know. They go, "Hey, man, I know I seen your video. Hey, I seen you on Tosh, but I know about you." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay." We have a good laugh about it, but at the end of the day, it's my work I'm judged on. I'm not judged on what is, and I'll be damned if I'm going to go around there and think that's my only self-esteem. Some people have fun with it. Some people know me as a meme. That's all they want to know me as. Fine. I'll say, "How are you? What's your name? Great to meet you. Take a selfie." I may never see them again, but they remember you were nice, and that's
Right.
important. And because some
Absolutely.
people are not going to be nice, some people are going to be a prick, and you don't want to have experiences like that. I don't want someone
Nope.
leaving my experiences. Now, don't get me wrong. I've met a lot, but I mean, not as far as fans. Most everybody's pretty nice. Some people will judge you. Every now and then I'll get on YouTube, or when that first came out, I'd get on YouTube, find the haters, and go ahead and wow them, be nice to them. And you know what? People are like, "You must be the nicest guy in the world." No, I'm really not. I really don't care. Some people live or die. No, I'm kidding. But I wish everybody the best. But I mean, it's the way it
Mhm.
goes. You got to be. Again, it's more important. It's nice to be important. More
Well,
important to be nice.
and it goes without saying on that because I watch so many of these independent wrestlers just get absolutely rude for no reason to the fans. It's like, hello, these are the guys buying tickets to come and see you. Now I get, fans get a little carried away sometimes, but it's like, you can be nice to them without being a dick.
Yeah, I sure agree.
Yeah.
I was like, these are the guys that are gonna remember how he got treated. It's like, I've gotten selective over the years who I book because my daughter, who is now 19 and married to an Air Force guy, would actually go up to certain wrestlers and say, "Hey, would you sign my picture, my book, or whatever?" And some of them would be glad to do it, but a lot of them were, acting like they were too good to even acknowledge her. Then it was like, "Hey, how was my match?" "Oh, the match was okay, but your attitude sucks. I don't think I'm gonna need you no more.
Yeah, I mean,
If you're gonna
if
show up
that
in my
stuff,
house and be rude to my kid, you might as well not even show back up here." You know what I'm
well,
saying?
you gotta wind up being. You gotta wind up. If you're nice to them, they'll come back. They'll want to see
Oh
you.
yeah.
And here's the thing. Okay, like when I'm managing Curtis. Okay, when I'm managing Mr. Hughes, he's a heel, but he wants to do what all wrestlers do. They want to make gimmick money. He's been on WCW, he's been on WWE,
Yep.
he's been on ECW. He's got to make the gimmick money. I like to kayfabe and keep my character. So what I'll do is, if I'm next to him, I'll be like, I don't think you should be doing this for these fans. So I'm keeping my heat and I'm being an ass to the fans to a certain
Mhm.
extent, but not in a mean way. I wouldn't let you do this. It was to me, but I know you want to make your dollar. Hey man, they're my fans. What are you talking about? I mean, but that's
Right.
the way how I do it. But I try to keep the myth real because I mean, at the same time, while you can be nice to people if you meet them, if I'm at the show, nobody wants to see JR and Bobby shaking hands. Nobody
Nope.
wants to see JR. Yeah, I'm dating myself. JR Ewing and Cliff Barnes, going out and, drinking coffee together during the break. Nobody
Nope.
wants to see, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, sitting up back smoking a stogie, having a drink of scotch. Nobody
Nope.
gives
They
a
sure
damn about
don't.
it. You
It goes
want
without
to
saying.
keep up the
Here's a
illusion.
big pet peeve. Here's a big pet peeve. And I was so glad that I had a building that allowed for me to keep kayfabe. Was I would hate when the wrestlers would go out front and be smoking and joking around the fans and be going over their match at the same time. It's like, don't do that. It's like, why the
That's
hell are you
like
doing
having a magician go out there and say, all right, here's what we got. This is the way we do. This is the way we do the match. Do the match. I'll chop you and you chop me, and then drop down, tackle, get again. It's that kind of stuff.
hmm
Keep some
Now,
mystique.
now I
It
will admit the business is changing in this regard. Like you were just talking about the gimmick table and the gimmick money. We did MomoCon in 2022. We had Kane, we had Slaughter, we had Hughes, we had Nikita, and then we had bunch of talent.
didn't have me. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, you were invited.
I didn't
You were
know.
invited.
I didn't have a table. I can't remember if I was invited or not. It's just been a while. I didn't have it on the schedule.
I get you. You were probably busy.
If you do it again, I'll come.
Well, I'll go into something that Luke and I have been discussing at length for a few weeks now, shortly. But I had to smarten up a lot of the old heads. I'm pretty sure you remember Goth Black, he's my booker.
Yeah,
His question was, why are we doing this for these nerds? Like, well, these are the people paying our bills. These are the people who are paying us to show up here and do shows. And these are the people buying our merchandise. It's not the same anymore like used to. You went to the Omni or the Macon Coliseum, to meet Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. You were specifically there to buy wrestling stuff, But those crowds have started to fade away a lot. You have to have something else these days to get it over, unfortunately. Because you look at 9% of the indies, and I think you can agree with me on this, Dave. 9% of these guys out here doing this aren't quality booking. They're really not. They
well,
really need, majority of them need to be retrained.
you're talking about book. You have about booking or wrestling.
All of it. You know what I'm saying? It's all of
Well,
it. A lot of them need to be retrained. A lot of them need to really understand why they're doing it.
but booking is also subjective. You can like something that you like, and I may hate it. It's an art form. It's subjective.
Well,
So
yeah.
I don't really bash it. I got a chance to shot call one time for Steve Lawler up in Carrollton for a show or two at the Perks. Not Carrollton,
hmm
in Cedartown. God, biggest pain in the butt ever. Not that it was bad for me. It's just that you get a feeling of everybody wants to be the main. Everybody thinks they deserve extra $10 or $20. Everyone thinks you give them a better push. And you're never going to please anybody. And you got snakes running around just waiting for you to fail to take over the spot. It's a thankless job. So I kind of get that point. And I get some people are never going to be able to do, certain things. But some people are good. I enjoy wrestling if I'm entertained. It don't have to be a greatest match. Some matches really aren't. but I've enjoyed some matches
No,
that
they're
are
really
very
not.
technical. Some matches that are very technical, I'm like, God. As far as being recreated, maybe so, maybe not. I don't really bash on talent and say that guy can't work because okay, I've had a match. Okay. Now I've taken a few bumps. Now I'm not qualified to say that. Can I tell you if I like it or not? Yeah. You're going to hear me talk about 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, dud, 7-star. Hell no. That's nonsense. I don't want a part of that. Sorry, Big Dave. Observe. You can
Right.
observe that. You can observe it all you want. I ain't observing nothing like that.
And to be quite honest, honestly, it doesn't even start at the match. I mean, it goes back to what y'all were saying about booking, but not even that. I mean, in the process, because I'm a graphic designer, right? So you need to advertise your brand, your guys, your matches in the best way possible.
Well, the internet
Yeah.
don't just work. It don't hurt to throw up a few signs at a laundromat and go to what needs to go to Southern Poster. It doesn't hurt to do that. Throw up a few stores in La Tienda and get the Amiga and get the Spanish speaking crowd to come. There's all kind of things. It doesn't matter who's there. Money is green, man. That's what
Yeah.
it's about.
Yes, it
Making a
is.
dollar, man. I
And
tell you, a lot of guys make the dollar. People say, we had the best show ever. How many folks you $50? Did you make any money? It was okay. Not
I
that
think
I'm singling
and I
anybody out.
and I think people want to cut corners in the places where they shouldn't cut corners.
How
Like
so?
and okay, like the advertisement portion. Now, like I said, I'm a graphic designer, so I make a lot of flyers for different, promotions and stuff. But then, there was one instance and I actually had this happen a couple of times, but I'm just gonna put this out in general. I'm not gonna call out anybody. But I make a poster for a promotion, right? And I get paid, and I'm fine with that. But one thing that I don't understand is I turn right around, the same show, the same promotion ends up doing a way worse looking flyer, and I'm like, well, I'm just made a flyer for you that looks top notch because that's the role of a graphic designer. If you want to make them look like
Brother, did
$1 million.
did you get paid?
No, I did get paid. No, I'm
Not your damn problem.
well, yeah.
Not your problem. You can give a guy the keys to success. If he wants to go out there and rob a bank, hey, it ain't your problem. You told him how to be successful. He screwed the hell up. You can give somebody the greatest thing in the world. You can go out there and make someone a giant bowl of ice cream. If they want to, throw it away or flush it in the commode or take a dump on it, it's not your bitch. Somebody else's. Don't worry about it.
I'm glad you said that, man. I'm glad you
The
said.
hell with it. Is it a missed opportunity? Hey, at the end of the day, it's their money they're running to show. If they don't like it, guess what? So be it. They put out what they like. Did it do the work? And at the end of the day, it ain't about what you put in the poster. It ain't about how you design a poster. It's does it draw? And
Exactly.
here's the thing: if it doesn't draw, sell the show. Who cares? Go out there and do it. I one time thought what would be a really cool idea is to run a show, and whoever sold the most tickets and brought me back the most money gets in the main event. I don't care who shows up. I don't care about match quality. It's about making the bucks. Are
Yeah.
we going to figure out an angle? Yeah, we'll do a little something like that. But I'm not going to go call move for move. Do this. I don't want to do it. It's a pain in the butt. But that way, whoever sold the most, you're the main. Second, you're co-main. Next, so it's a Dave. Do you realize what you're saying? That is so wrong. I said, yep. But if they don't want to sell tickets, they can pay to be in the main event. Do you know what you're doing? You're damn right. I know what you're doing. And I'm going to sell the show to somebody else. It may be the worst wrestling show ever, but I don't care. You're going to see Jethro from the gas station take on Bob from Pep Boys. And I don't care what it happens. You know why? Because if I got $2,000 in my pocket, the hell with it. I'll pay for it out of the sponsor funds.
I,
Wrestling's a con game to a certain extent.
it's all about who wants it. Who wants it bad enough? Who wants to be
Well,
successful bad
and
enough?
that goes to the next point. People like,
you're
I
freezing
booked
there.
you. Why aren't you? I booked you. Why aren't you sharing the flyer? You know what I'm saying? Why aren't you sharing the flyer? Why aren't you saying, "Hey, I'm going to be at so and so place wrestling"? Why can't you do that? Oh, it's the promoter's job. Oh, really? So you don't
Okay.
want to put yourself over, make yourself look good in the process.
Well, I don't want to put
These
myself
are
over
same
most
people.
of the time. I think that's for the boys.
These are people. These are the same people that 30 people a show, and they'll use some cheap ass belt. I've even seen some of them use cardboard belts, and they wonder how
Cardboard
come they're not
belts.
drawing money. It's like, well,
That's sad.
yeah, I've literally seen it. I've
Oh
literally
well.
seen it.
What can you do? That's the way
I've
it
got to the
goes.
point I don't even go to any show.
Oh, I'll
I
go
don't
to
even
some
go
of them.
to
I'll
other
drop
people's
by,
shows
say hi
anymore.
to some folks.
I've got to where I don't even go to other shows anymore because I get disgusted over what I see.
You sound like you're underwater. You're freezing out a little bit, Eric.
Yeah, sorry, I'm traveling back roads.
Oh, that explains it. Okay. But yeah, I mean, am I going to run the ship? God, no. I don't want to invest any money. How do you become a millionaire in the wrestling business? Start with about 2 million or 10 billion or whatever you want to do. You can go broke real easy. But I mean, here's the deal: is if it's a vanity product, you want to promote what you want to promote and do whatever. That's great. If you want to make money, hey, that's great. You're a capitalist. If you want to be whatever, that's the way it goes. That's cool. But if you don't, hey, am I a capitalist? No. Yes, to a certain extent, but I'm not going to pit myself out. I don't want to do shows every week. I never do shows every week. Now, if it's something that interests me, I'll do that. But at the same time, hey, what can you do?
Oh yeah.
I do have a PWT store. Look for original crying wrestling fan Dave.com. Buy a t-shirt, buy whatever, buy a Zoom call. I'll call you up and say, "Hey, I'm Dave Wills. Happy birthday, Grandma." I don't care. I'll promote whatever you want. I'll go up there and pucker up and bend over and I'll kiss your feet. It don't matter. But you're gonna pay my butt.
Oh, Dave. I'm not as famous as you or Eric, but I want to make this statement because you know I grew up a wrestling fan, right? Watching wrestling with my father and my brother, and having wrestling matches on the trampoline with me and my friends and all that, and I learned how to do graphic design all these years, and that trip that I took with Eric was probably the biggest trip that I ever took. Besides, now 2 years after my father died, I went to Raw 1000, so that was the big show. But when I went to that trip with Eric, that was when I would say my business changed, like because now I can go to a show, uh, you know, most of these indie shows that's going on, like Larry Otto in Dublin, Georgia, and IWE, and a couple others. I can walk in there and people know who I am. And and no, I'm not on the level as you, Mr. Dave, but
Don't worry about it. I don't worry. Some
but
days I don't want to be in that level, honestly. I like to go in there and enjoy it. And then, at the same time, too, hey, what can you do?
yeah,
You may not be in the level, but you're on sub level. That's the main thing. I don't want to go to every single show. As a matter of fact, I'm not, but has being known a little bit more changed the way I am? Yeah, because you look at it differently. But I thought, my bubbles popped. It's not what I thought. I thought there was a little more heat. I thought there was a little bit of kayfabe involved. Nah, I found out exactly what it was. I go, well, I don't know about this. I can either dislike it and say my bubble popped, or I can learn about it. So I learned about it. I learn something new every day. The biggest way you learn about wrestling is to admit you don't know a damn thing. Once I said I don't know shit, guess what? I started learning. once I said I don't know what I don't know, you start learning and paying attention.
Yeah, it feels to me it feels surreal, but it also feels different because it's like you cross over from being a normal fan to actually knowing some of these guys that you grew up watching, having a relationship with them. And like we talked about in the first part of the podcast
You become
was,
part of the fraternity.
yeah, and it's different because
Absolutely.
now you see the real person behind the gimmick. And like there are
Sometimes you're disappointed. Be careful.
no
That's exactly.
I definitely I can understand that because for example, people that are faces have turned out to be real heels in real life, and heels in as their gimmick are actually really good guys in real life. You know,
Well, it's like when you meet William Shatner, you're not meeting Captain Kirk. If you meet Tommy Lee Jones, he's not chasing Harrison Ford. Dr. Richard Kimball will not be found by him. He's not a U.S. Marshal. Okay, you get to know it. Hey, that's the thing. It's pressure. It's a lot of stuff, and hey, a lot of people have to adjust to it. It's just the way it goes.
oh yeah,
It
that is true.
it will give you some pleasure, but it will sure pop your bubble at sometimes.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So we just got a few minutes left here, so I just kind of want to open up the floor. We'll start with you, Eric. Do you have any final words for the podcast today?
Well, like I said, some good points touched, some good perspectives. Yeah, I will say that June 2024 will be my final show,
Oh,
and we're working on the arrangements for that as we speak. I'm moving on to other ventures because, like I said, been around this stuff. Next year will be 30 years that I've even been around it. Um, I've met everybody that I've wanted to meet. I've done just about everything I wanted to do except one thing, and I'm not going to touch on that yet till it's in stone. But it'll be like, what else is there? It's given me a good life. My wife and I met through wrestling. Got our little boy. I've got to meet all the people I watched on television. Got to work very closely with them. Got to develop relationships with those people. I got to be in front of 300,000 people at a show. But I mean, there's really not much else that I feel I need to accomplish. Um, Downside to what I see in wrestling, and I'll just leave it there, is there's been a lot of really unsavory stuff coming out in the open, involving a lot of people that I actually thought were going to be good people. That's a lot of the reason I'm walking away from it. I don't like the quality of a lot of the wrestling I see, including the top products. I haven't. Maybe it's my perspective, if you will, but that's just how I feel about it. I just feel it's a watered down product these days. I feel we're at a period of stagnation, and like I said, but I do have one more trick up my sleeve, and I'll unveil that next year.
sweet.
I can't wait for that. I cannot wait for that. Now, yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. But any
Oh
final
yeah,
words, Dave? And thank you so much for coming on. But do you have
my
any final
pleasure.
Absolutely.
words?
Good to see you again, David.
Always good to see you, Eric. Yeah. Again, I'm on Twitter. Still real Dave. Still real Dave on Twitter. Follow me every now and then. I say something intelligent, maybe. Um, I'm at PWTs. Look for original crying wrestling fan. Buy a shirt. Buy a Zoom call. Whatever. If you do, great. If you don't, well, fine. Then I won't wish Grandma happy birthday. You got to pay the hoe, okay? I'm like the Godfathers, ladies, let's see here. What else do I want to say? I have one thing I want to do in wrestling. Promoters, attention. One thing I want to do in wrestling. Manage the Barbarian. That's the last thing. Favorite wrestler when I was a kid. Always a fan of Buzz Sawyer, Bill Dundee, the Barbarian, Conga variety, Conga the Barbarian. And I thought Nord was great too. And believe it or not, Ed the Bull Gantner. That was another one of my faves. I love hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert and all. But yeah, definitely love to do that. Haven't done it yet, but you never know. Every now
I'll
and then
have to.
someone says, "Let's go
I'll
ahead
have to
and
make
book
a note of that.
Let's go ahead and book you, Dave." Yeah, I'll be a heel too. Believe me. I don't know if I'm going to do anything after that. I may just disappear. That's all I got to do. I don't got to be in Mania or manage Flair. I'd like to meet McMahon. I met Tony Khan, but nothing else. I think I'm good.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Thank you, Eric, manager of champions. Thank you. It's still real to me, Dave. This is Luke Thompson, the Luke Thompson Designs podcast. Thank you so much, and y'all have a good night.
Have a great one, everybody.